Have you ever wondered why some men, without saying much, without flashing wealth, without being the tallest or most handsome in the room, still make women lean in closer, crave their presence, and remember them long after they've left? And here's the real question. What if I told you that the secret isn't found in modern dating tricks, not in flashy cars, not in rehearsed lines, but in two simple words that the Stoics, led by Marcus Aurelius himself, lived by? Two words that, when you understand and embody them, make you magnetic, not just in love, but in every part of life. Now, before I reveal those words, I want you to pause for a second, because if you truly want to change your love life, if you want to understand the Stoic Attraction Secret, you need to watch this video all the way through. By the end, those two words will no longer be just words. They will be living principles you carry in your heart. So subscribe to the channel, like this video, and make a commitment right now that you're going to absorb this to the very end. Because once you do, you won't chase attention, you'll attract it. You won't beg for love. You'll command respect. The story begins. Picture this: Rome, the 2nd century. The empire stretches across continents. Gladiators fight in arenas, generals march across distant lands, and emperors carry the weight of a world on their shoulders. And in the midst of it all sits Marcus Aurelius, not just any emperor, but a philosopher king. While others craved power, Marcus craved truth. While others sought endless pleasures, he sought clarity. And here's the irony. Despite being the most powerful man alive, Marcus Aurelius wrote privately in his journals not about ruling people, but about ruling himself. Now think about this in the context of attraction. Most men today obsess over controlling outcomes. How do I make her like me? What do I say to win her? How do I keep her attention? Marcus would laugh at this, not out of arrogance, but out of wisdom, because he knew the greatest power you can hold is not power over another, but power over yourself. The ancient test of attraction. There's a story told about Marcus Aurelius in the courts of Rome. Senators, generals, and nobles would gather around him, many secretly despising him, many trying to flatter him. But Marcus sat quietly, listening, his face calm, his words precise. He didn't need to raise his voice. He didn't need to prove himself. And yet, those who opposed him often found themselves disarmed, not because he argued louder, but because he carried an aura that said, "I do not need your approval. I am whole as I am." And here's the shocking truth. This is exactly what women crave. Not the noise, not the desperate energy, but the man who radiates quiet strength. Modern reflection. Fast forward to today. Imagine two men walk into a room. The first one is flashy. He's loud, dressed in the most expensive clothes, cracking jokes to get attention, interrupting others so his voice dominates. People look at him, yes, but mostly because of the noise. The second man, he walks in calmly. He doesn't need to announce himself. He listens before speaking. When he does talk, his words are thoughtful, slow, measured. He doesn't try to win everyone. He simply is. Now, which one do you think women truly crave? The one who burns brightly for a moment and then fades? Or the one whose presence lingers, whose silence speaks louder than words? And here's where Marcus Aurelius gives us the blueprint. Stoic Attraction Secret. The Stoics believed that the external world, how others see you, how they treat you, what they think of you, is beyond your control. But what is in your control? Your thoughts, your actions, your character. Marcus wrote in Meditations, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." Think about that. If your life, your confidence, your attraction, your aura, if all of it depends not on how she sees you, but on how you discipline your inner world, then you no longer need to chase. You become the man women crave, not because you're trying to impress them, but because you are rooted, unshakable. This is where we begin to uncover the two words. But not yet. Because if I hand them to you now, they'll just be theory. You'll nod, maybe smile, and forget them by tomorrow. Instead, we must build the foundation, the soil in which those two words can take root in your soul. The trap most men fall into. Let's pause here and get brutally honest. Most men today fall into one of two traps. 1. The chaser, the man who desperately seeks approval. He bends, he compromises, he overgives, he loses himself in the hope of being chosen. He thinks love is earned through sacrifice, but really he's only teaching her to lose respect. 2. The performer, the man who tries to impress. He puts on the mask of confidence, brags about achievements, flaunts status symbols. But women see through this too. They sense the insecurity underneath. Both the chaser and the performer are rooted in weakness. Both are slaves to the opinion of others. Both lack the one thing Marcus Aurelius insisted was essential: self-mastery. Marcus Aurelius's first suggestion. So what was Marcus's first suggestion for a life of strength, attraction, and peace? It was this: you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. Do you see it? The core of attraction is not control over others, but control over self. When a woman feels this in you, that's your mood, your peace. Your worth are not swayed by her reactions. Suddenly you stand apart. You are no longer another man chasing or performing. You are something rare, a man rooted in his own power, building the suspense. Now, I know you're wondering, okay, but what are the two words? And we'll get there. But right now, I want you to lean into the story. Because what Marcus taught wasn't about tricks, it was about transformation. The two words are not pickup lines. They're not magic phrases. They are deeper than that. They are a way of being, a way of carrying yourself, so that you embody the rarest form of magnetism, a man who is whole. And once you understand this, you'll see why women are drawn to it, not out of manipulation, but out of pure instinct. A lesson from the battlefield. Let me tell you a story. During a military campaign, Marcus Aurelius faced betrayal from some of his closest allies. Imagine that, men he trusted, men who had eaten at his table, now turning against him. Most rulers would have exploded in rage, seeking revenge, shouting threats. But Marcus, he remained calm. He noted in his journal, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." Can you feel the weight of that? Even when wronged, even when surrounded by deception, he didn't let his emotions control him. He didn't lose his center. Now imagine being a woman watching a man like that. Not swayed by drama, not shaken by chaos, but standing strong, calm, unmovable. That is a man who is magnetic. That is a man who draws craving, not because he seeks it, but because he embodies what so few can: mastery of self. Transition toward the secret. So here we are, standing on the edge of revelation. We've seen how Marcus Aurelius lived. We've seen how men today fall into traps of chasing or performing. We've seen how women crave something deeper, not words, not tricks, but presence. And in the next part of this journey, we're going to move closer to the two words. I'm going to show you how Marcus Aurelius himself hinted at them, how they carry power across centuries, and how, when you live them, they make you unforgettable. So keep watching, keep listening, and remember, the journey you're on right now is not just about attraction. It's about becoming the kind of man who commands respect and love naturally. The emperor who never wanted to be emperor. Marcus Aurelius never sought power. As a young man, he was a quiet, bookish student, more interested in philosophy than politics. He was adopted into the line of succession almost against his will. Imagine that. The most powerful empire in the world. And at its head sits a man who didn't want the throne. A man who would rather spend his days writing, reflecting, and seeking wisdom. And yet, that's exactly why he became one of Rome's greatest emperors. Because his power was not driven by hunger for control. His attraction was not in craving approval. His magnetism was born of something deeper, his refusal to be ruled by ego. This is the first clue to our secret. Why women crave self-mastery. Let's be honest. Every woman has met men who try too hard. The man who floods her phone with compliments. The man who brags endlessly about what he has. The man who loses himself in his pursuit of her. But the Stoics would ask, if you cannot even master yourself, how can you hope to master a relationship? Marcus wrote, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. That word, strength, it's the very thing women crave, even if they can't always put it into words. Not the strength of domination, not the strength of arrogance, but the strength of a man who owns himself. The power of restraint. One of the greatest lessons Marcus Aurelius left us is this. If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. Think about the restraint in that. The discipline not to lash out when angry. The maturity not to say something just to impress or manipulate. Now imagine how this applies to attraction. When a woman meets a man who doesn't just say things to win her over, who doesn't just follow impulses, who filters his actions through principle, what happens? She feels safe. She feels respect. She feels something rare, that this is a man who cannot be moved by momentary whims. This, my friend, is a hint of the two words. A story of silence. There's a story told of Marcus during a heated Senate debate. The chamber was filled with shouting, accusations, and fiery speeches. The empire was facing crises, rebellions, plagues, economic strain. And Marcus? He sat quietly. He let others rage. He let the storm pass. And when he finally spoke, he used only a few words. But those words carried weight because they came from a place of silence, thought, and clarity. That silence itself was power. That restraint was attraction. And here's the lesson for us. The man who cannot hold silence, who cannot sit calmly without needing to prove himself, is weak. The man who can endure silence without fear, that man holds women spellbound. Contrast with today's world. Now let's bring this into the modern world. We live in an age of noise. Social media rewards those who shout the loudest. Dating apps are filled with desperate signals. People talk endlessly but say nothing. And yet, what do women secretly crave? Not more noise, but a man who radiates calm. A man who doesn't need the crowd's applause. A man who isn't shaken by whether she texts back in 10 minutes or 10 hours. In a world addicted to attention, the one who doesn't need it becomes magnetic. Marcus Aurelius' second suggestion. Marcus gave us another gem. Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. Do you see how powerful that is? Most men spend their lives trying to prove they're strong, prove they're worthy, prove they're attractive. But Marcus is saying, don't argue about it. Don't boast about it. Live it. Be it. Final words. So what will you choose? The path of noise, panic, chasing, and desperation? Or the path of steadiness, calm, and true attraction? Remember, Marcus Aurelius didn't conquer empires by shouting louder. He didn't win respect by chasing approval. He became unforgettable because he lived one simple principle. When the storms come, and they always come, hold steady. With that said, thanks for watching, and until next time.